Hey guys, M13 here, and I have a novel idea. How about for a change of pace we talk about something to do with motorcycles, since this originally was a motorcycle channel. One of the reasons I don't talk about motorcycles that much anymore is because of the fact that I've already talked about whatever it is you want me to talk about. You know, anything to do with motorcycles. I have, what, 2,000 videos on YouTube? 2,000! I'm pretty sure if you do a YouTube search for Mordeth13, M13, and then whatever motorcycle subject you want to know about, I'll already have a video on it. Having said that, let's talk about some of the most controversial motorcycle topics I've come across over the years. Like, it's funny. There's this guy in Taiwan who's a bit of he's a foreigner like me, and he's got a bit of a fan following like me, and he's known as being a bit of a motorcycle expert. I'm not going to say like me. Well, no, you know what? Technically, I'm not the best rider in the world, but I'm better than 95% of people who ride. You know? No, I'd say, well, if you count every single person on the street, including grandmas and grandpas, then yeah, I'm better than 99%. But whatever. So there's this other guy, and he's got a bit of a motorcycle following in Taiwan. And I've talked to him about multiple topics, and he's just been 100% wrong. And I've tried to teach him. I've tried to instruct him. I'm like, no, actually, it comes to, you know, it should be like this. And he's quicker than me on a motorcycle. So even though what we're talking about is like air pressure or changing your oil on a motorcycle, his go-to defense is, dude, I'm faster than you, so I should know. What the hell does you riding faster than me have to do with how much air you put in your tire? Dude, I'm faster than you. He actually said that. So anyways, so I know for a fact that these motorcycle issues or topics can cause conflict, because he actually banned me from his Facebook page because I was going to out him for not knowing about these topics that I'm about to talk about. Okay, let's get on to the topics. In no particular order. I haven't even written them down. I didn't know I was going to do this video until I was putting the camera on. But oh, speaking of which, I didn't even check. Oh yeah, it is on. Okay. I wasn't even. I forgot to check that the main camera was on. The microphone's on. In no particular order. I'm just. But I should be good at this. Let's do number one. One of my favorites is air pressure. First of all, I'm personally of the belief that air pressure isn't as important as people think it is. But having said that, with regards to science and physics and whatnot, say you have a certain pressure you like in your tires. Say it's whatever, 30 psi. That's your sweet spot. That's where you want your tires at. Okay. So on a really cold day where you have some like ice on the road and whatnot, and you're comfortable riding at 30 psi, what should you do with your tires? The correct answer is you should let some air out, so that people know if you're riding on an especially slippery road, like on a rainy, cold day, you let some air out of your tires. Why? Because they grip better when there's less air. And then people are like, well, why don't you just let air out all the time if they grip better? Well, because they'll overheat. So if you let air out all the time, like on a nice hot sunny day, your tires will overheat and they'll actually lose grip because they'll heat up too much and they'll become slippery. Nobody argues anything of what I just said. This is the controversial part. On an extremely hot day, a day where it's like 110 Celsius or 110 Fahrenheit Celsius, 110 Celsius, or 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or 45 degrees Celsius. How should you adjust your tires? The correct answer is, see, and a lot of people think, well, on a hot day, air expands, so you're going to have too much air in your tires, so you should let some out. But didn't we already just say on a cold day you should do that? So the correct answer actually is, on an extremely hot day, you should actually put a little bit is the key word, more air into your tires. Why? Because it makes your tires harder. It makes them more inflated, harder, they flex less, and they're less likely to overheat and become slippery. Yeah, so the guy that I mentioned earlier just refused to believe that. He goes, no, on an extremely hot day, I let a little bit of air out of my tires because the heat makes the air expand, so your tires will be too full on a hot day. And that applies to a balloon. But your tire is not a balloon. Your tire is something that's constantly rubbing the road. And what affects the air inside your tire more than the sun is the friction that your tire builds against the pavement. And the more air you put in your tire, the less friction and less heat you have developed against the road. The less air you put in your tire, the more heat it generates against the pavement. And this is really easy to test. Let half the air out of your tire and then go for a ride. And then when you pull over and stop, your tire will be overheated to the point where it's melting. So there. It's not that controversial now once I've explained it well, is it? But the crazy thing is, here's the test though. Walk up to a guy who says he knows a lot about riding and ask him, if you like the air pressure in your tires at 30 psi and it's an extremely hot day, how should you put more in or let some air out to keep it at 30 psi? And the answer is you actually add more air to keep the pressure down at 30 psi. It's counterintuitive, but it's the correct answer. So that's controversial issue number 1 for motorcycles. Number 2, what are we going to talk about? Oh, this is a good one. I've had so many people argue this with me, and to me it's so common sense, but people still argue this. Is it okay to let your motorcycle run, is it okay to let your motorcycle idle for extended periods? So, one side of this argument is, yeah, it's okay. Motorcycles nowadays are developed with such precision and such high levels of technology that they can, idling doesn't put any strain on the engine, obviously, so they can sit and idle for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, why not? I take the opposite side to this argument. No, it's not okay to let a motorcycle or scooter or car idle for more than a few minutes. If you're stopping and your wife's going into the store for 20 minutes and she says, just wait here, should you sit in your car and let it idle for 20 minutes using the air conditioner? You can, sure, but it's hard on everything. It's damaging to everything. Motorcycles are made to cool themselves with wind, and you don't have any wind while you're stopped. And they're made in such a way that they need the wind so much that when you're idling, certain parts of your motorcycles are too cold, and then certain parts are overheating. So you have this imbalance because you need the wind to spread the heat out, so it all becomes more even. And if you don't believe me, just check the owner's manual. It literally says in the owner's manual, do not idle your motorcycle for more than, and it tells you a time. It's 3 minutes or something like that. So no, so I'm and that's not, obviously it's not the end of the world, but I would argue that if you let a bike just sit and idle for an hour, hour and a half, there's a serious chance, maybe, I don't know what percent, 5%, whatever, a serious chance that it will be noticeably worse after doing that. It's better on your bike to fly along at 120 miles an hour than for it is to sit and idle for a half hour. Yeah, so that's controversial issue number 2. Do I have a number 3? This one isn't controversial, but this is that same gentleman that I mentioned earlier. I had an argument with about this. I was using one of his vehicles, and it was a scooter, and he told me to change the oil because I'd borrowed it for like a week, and I gave it to one of my tour guests, and then he's yeah, just go throw a liter in there, and I'm like, a liter? I go, this scooter, it's 750 cc. That's how much it holds. And he goes, just throw a liter in there. It's fine. I'm like, what? What? 750 cc a liter. That's me overfilling it by like 30%. That's like if your car takes 4 liters of engine oil and you throw 5 in there just for the heck of it. Why the hell would anybody do that? And then his response was, it's fine, dude. I do it all the time. Okay. Best case scenario, it doesn't do any damage, and maybe the additional oil either leaks out onto the road or the engine like burns it because it's over full. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, the added oil creates too much pressure and blows the seals, just causing you to get your engine rebuilt, which I have literally seen happen before with the same comparison. I had rented a scooter. A friend of mine lent me a scooter, and it was a brand new scooter, brand new, and he was lending it to me to use for my customers for my tour, and I felt guilty because it was brand new, because a brand new vehicle, you get the oil change like really early, like after like 60 miles or something, you should do an oil change because it's a brand new engine. So I got that done for him, and the shop put a liter in. You buy a liter of oil, so they just threw the whole liter in there. It only needed like 750 or 800 cc, so they overfilled it by like, I don't know, 20-30%. And then like within an hour of leaving the oil change place, the scooter's horsepower dropped by like 30%, and the guy riding it says, yeah, it's gutless now. And then we figured out the reason why was because overfilling the oil blew some seals, so the engine pressure, the horsepower, was just leaking out. So yeah, I don't think that's controversial, but I literally had like a big, pretty much yelling argument with a motorcycle expert about that. The other most common one that you all already know. Let me check if I'm still recording. And the other most common one is, and we'll just skim this over quick because you should already know this one, counter steering. A lot of people say that you need to lean your body to turn a motorcycle, and a lot of people say they themselves know what counter steering is, but they don't do it. Both those statements are false. If you ride a motorcycle, you do counter steer. You definitely do. You might be subconscious, but you do it. You cannot take a corner without counter steering over 8 miles an hour. Maybe under 8 miles an hour you can. You could like change lanes just by leaning your body, but it would be a slow, awkward changing of lanes. Even for changing lanes, you counter steer. And and you don't need to lean your body any direction. Well, it's all in the handlebars. It's all counter steering, changing lanes, taking corners, doing U-turns. You don't have to lean anyway. You don't have to lean into a corner. You don't have to lean away from a corner. Your body, it makes a difference leaning your body. It's definitely, that's a more advanced skill. When it comes to just learning how to ride, it doesn't really matter which way you're leaning your body. It's all in the handlebars. It's all counter steering. And that one's not, that one's pretty, even Mr. I'm quicker than you didn't argue me on that one, surprisingly. Oh, there's the police. Let me cover my mouth with my mask. It's a cute police. Oh, no, I thought that was a woman. It's a guy. I'm like, oh, there's a hot chick police. Oh, that's a guy. He's just really small with a feminine build. Anyways, okay, so that's my motorcycle topic video. Later, guys.
They wouldn't even like turn around to look at like the guy that almost killed them. They wouldn't even turn their head. They wouldn't check the mirrors. They would just continue on and just, yeah, perfectly normal.